This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids.
What up, everybody? This your boy Black Megas, and getting back into doing these type of videos. The gaming scene, I haven't been really hardcore into doing gaming videos in a good while, but I want to get back, especially since we have so much stuff that has come out and that is coming out this year, like God of War, epic game. Maybe I'll go back and give just a quick summation of my thoughts, although over at the Wise Guy Gaming Sports and Entertainment channel, we do have a spoiler cast where me, my boy Cardiac Sumo, and Eurostrix, we got together and we talked for a few hours about the game and the things that we liked about it and whatnot, our opinions, blah, 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 blah. So check that out, but I might go back and do a little brief. It's funny because as I'm talking to you guys, I'm actually looking at footage of Detroit Become Human, the demo that I just played, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about in this video. And I noticed I had a God of War video as well, so may use some of that footage and just do a brief overview of how I felt about that game, just to put it on my channel for my own personal perspective. But I definitely do encourage you guys to check out the podcast, the spoiler cast that we did. Now, Detroit Become Human. I already knew what to expect going in because I played Heavy Rain. I haven't played any other David Cage game, which is funny because Beyond Two Souls is actually free this month. So you guys can pick that up if you want to check that out before you check out Detroit. It'll give you a good, I would say it'll probably give you a good sense of what to expect, the type of mood, setting, gameplay, storytelling, and what have you, if you play that. But if you come in cold to Detroit, I will say this. It's going to be interesting to see the reaction to people who have never played a David Cage game, because for me, again, knowing about Heavy Rain, playing it, enjoying Heavy Rain, I knew what to expect, so it was nothing like new to me, but it was interesting to see some of the things that he did as far as the way you interact with the world, and the theme of the game seems to be pretty interesting as well. For those who don't know a little bit about Detroit Become Human, it is about a future, I guess not so distant future, where humans utilize androids in all sorts of capacities, and somehow these androids are starting to become deviant, as the humans like to call them, when they start to realize that maybe we're not human, but we are kind of being treated unfair. And it explores the question of androids and whether or not they are alive and whether they have rights and things like that. It's a very interesting theme because it mirrors some of what society has gone through. Because if you played this demo, you know what I'm talking about. There are instances in interactions with humans with your character that reminds you of things that we've seen in the past, present, and probably in the future when it comes to race. The way people react because an android is helping them instead of a human and what have you. It's pretty damn interesting. I think that's going to be the main crux of this game, is that your interest is going to heavily rely on how much you're invested in the story. Now, I've been told with games like Beyond Two Souls and I forget the name of his first game, but I've been told that with those two games, the story kind of went extremely off the rails in some points, and got too ridiculous to continue on. Now, Heavy Rain definitely, and I should mute my phone before I start recording. Bad mic, but Heavy Rain had some of the ridiculousness and kind of went off the rails in places, but it stayed on rails enough, at least in my opinion, to where it made sense enough to keep continuing, and it didn't detract. It was a much more grounded story than what I hear stuff like Beyond Two Souls is. So that may have helped. And this seems like it's going to be a more grounded story because, it's set in the not too distant future. It has kind of realistic consequences and questions that you would normally ask in situations like this, especially with the advancement in AI and intelligence over the years. And, we've been introduced to sex dolls and, you know, little robots that can talk and do things for you and respond. You have all of these, um, voice controlled devices like the Echo and things like that. You know, artificial intelligence is starting to play a big role in human life. You know, self-driving cars, what have you. So this is to me like something that makes this game appealing because you have that factor. You have the factor too is about that's basically it's about you know the rights of like robots and whether or not they're alive and deserve to be treated as such, and also the reflection that it has on society, how we react to certain things that we're not used to, or in a lot of these humans in the demo case, react to something that we just look at as a tool, as something to use, as something to do our labor and to take the pressure off of us, the burden off of us. Sounds familiar? Sure it does. Because we've seen that happen. Uh, Not too many decades ago. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. And I'm curious to see what his take on how it's going to go. Gameplay mechanics. If you have not played a David Cage game, I would say the closest it comes to is playing a Telltale game. So if you like the Telltale type of play, you might like this. Although his is a little more, I would say, vigorous. You do have to do a lot of action sequences. Like there was a particular one in the first path that I took. I took two paths while playing this. The first path, I ended up having to do a couple of quick time events to end the scenario. Second time, didn't have to go through those motions. You know what I mean? So it depends, and that's another thing about this game that I think is going to be very, very interesting is that the level of choice seems to expand. No one at Quantum Dream seems to know, or at least they don't want to tell. But there are so many paths, and if you've played the demo, you'll notice this. But if you haven't, there's a tree that comes up at the end of the scenario that breaks down like, what paths you unlocked and what paths you didn't unlock. And there were, it wasn't a whole lot, but there were quite a few things on the screen for just a 15-minute demo. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of choices that I could have made that I didn't make, and it lets you going back to explore to see how you can get out of this jam, or what have you. So in that case, it's a lot more robust than Telltale games, but as far as like how you interact with the world or how your character persists in it, it's just basically you just swiping over things, using the left or right stick to navigate through stuff, and picking the appropriate conversation string. Now, that's not going to appeal to a lot of people, and I think that's one of the problems with David Cage games when it comes to appeal, is that it seems like we're more accepting of that type of style of play, or that less interactive style of play for a Telltale game, because they're like $5-10 a pop. You can get them episodically if you want to continue the story, or if you didn't like the first part, you could just dump it and not have to worry about it. The episodic thing seems to be a lot more appealing, but this is a $60 game, and a lot of people may not want to pay that much for that experience. Again, you guys know my stance on the whole pay versus experience thing, but I do understand the argument. And in this case, I do definitely understand the argument. Because you're probably going to get a long, lengthy campaign. And that's another thing, too. A lot of people may not want to play a, 10-hour Telltale type game. And when I say Telltale type game, please don't murder me. I'm not pegging this as a Telltale type game, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's a more interactive experience, as far as, you know, the choices, rather than how good you are at jumping, shooting, aiming, you know, so forth and so on. You don't, you know, you don't have to do as much. It's not as complex as most third-person adventure games. So, you know, that may appeal to some, that may not appeal to some. I'm just very, very curious to see at the end of the day how this shapes up. I was debating on whether or not I'm gonna keep my pre-order. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and get it. I don't get it from Amazon for $50, so hey, that helps save some money on it. But I'm so curious to see how this world's gonna shape up, because I like the design, I like the layout of the world, I like the premise that it's going with. Um, just have to see just how interesting this story stays, and you have three characters to go through and to navigate. So one story may be more interesting than the other, but I'm just curious as to how they will all end up colliding and tying together, because that's the staple, of course, of David Cage's games, is that they seem to all come together. And you know, at the end, all these characters weave together for the end of the game. And I'm thinking this is how it's going to be. It's funny because I believe his first game was more of a like singular focus game, focus on one character. Heavy Rain was group. Beyond Two Souls was a singular character. This one group, and it seems like the group one so far is the best one. So this may be his second best, if not best, game because of the ensemble cast dynamic. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it's cool. I definitely stress that you try this demo so you can get an idea of what you're getting into. Get a feel, even if you have played his games before and you've liked them. I still think you should play this demo because it can be helpful. It can be helpful because there are some tweaks to gameplay, mechanics and things like that. It's a little bit more depth. I have not tried, by the way, the feature with Echo, where apparently in this game you're able to use your Amazon Echo to find out information. Like I saw somebody playing it using their device. And by the way, I'm trying not to say her name. You know her name. I can't say it because she's gonna perk up right behind me because I actually have a Echo Spot. And you know, you say her name and you ask her questions about different things in the surroundings. Ask her about the history of the world. It's a feature that I've noticed they're starting to integrate more, Amazon especially, into these like devices, which I think is neat. I think that adds to like the game's interest level, especially if you're somebody who doesn't play games, or you like to play games, say with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, who aren't into games and are curious of what's going on, and they like looking at the story aspect of the games. They can actually talk to her. I was about to say her name, and ask her questions about the game, so they can be a part of the experience, which I think is pretty damn cool. But I'll probably could revisit that. I guess when I get the game, I'll let you guys know how they feel. Actually, I might play the demo right after I record this, just so I could see what the interactive capabilities are. But that's it for this video. So hope you guys enjoyed. As always, feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll hunt you later. This your boy Blak, makers, and I'm out. Deuces.